this is one of the four what we call Entrepreneurship and Innovation accelerated boot camps we've created. And the concept of these boot camps that we've created is that it's really important for all individuals to have hope and inspiration, candidly, to work hard. And to do that, they need to know that what they're working on can eventually lead to money. And a lot of times when you have people from underserved communities, whether they be new Americans who are refugees who come over, whether they be students who live in neighborhoods that don't have as much tax revenue, whether they be returning citizens, it's very difficult for them, to feel like they're going to be able to put their resume in, that they'll be the next CEO or manager or even, frankly, an employee at a company. And so what happens is that they a lot of times just give up. And when they give up, they may not register for civil service. They might look at other alternatives that could be in the form of gangs. And what ends up happening is, as a society, we end up still investing in these folks. But rather than investing and empowering them to make their own money, rebuild their communities, inspire more people, we then invest in items like Medicaid services, social training programs, which cost taxpayers a lot of money. And so rather than actually creating more revenue and helping grow the economy, we're actually shrinking the economy, and we're unfortunately growing the size of government. And that's not what a capitalistic society should be built on. And so what we said is, well, how do we create community initiative programs? Usually community initiative programs that states offer are in partnerships with big, large companies. And for those big, large companies, they say, well, we'll help you create a training program to develop a pipeline of talent so that way you can hire them. But unfortunately, a lot of times big companies are fairly saturated, and it's difficult for them to hire mass volume. So what we asked is, well, where's the training program to develop people for small businesses? We understand that there's training programs for, kids who graduate from college who want to become high-tech entrepreneurs, but where are those same offerings for people who are in underserved communities, like Flint and Detroit? And so what we did is we designed a series of 4 basic accelerators around what we feel are passion areas, in these communities. One is called App Scouts, and the goal of App Scouts is to help people develop, the next world-class cloud applications, mobile applications, that can eventually spin up and sell off for millions of dollars. The next one is Grow Main Street, and that focuses on lifestyle, restaurant businesses, lifestyle businesses. The third is Brew You Beer, to take advantage of Michigan's passion for brewing. And the fourth one is called Demo Entertainment, and that's for people with a passion for the music industry, the movie and entertainment industry. And the concept of all 4 programs is the same. What we're doing is we are really trying to train and develop and certify 2 key areas. One is what we call career skills for success, and the other area is called STEM, or some people call it STEAM. So we talk about career skills for success. We're saying if these individuals actually possess these skills and we can certify them, it doesn't matter if their venture ends up succeeding or failing. Any employer with any job opening, whether it's in healthcare, auto, retail, energy, information technology, would be able to hire these individuals and they would be able to contribute, so long as they had an equal opportunity of employment situation. And so those skills are things like communication, collaboration, productivity, time and attendance, technology. The other set of skills that are really essential in this economy are what's called STEM, or abbreviated STEAM skills. So that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Because it's really important, and in life, the reality is that once you leave accelerators like ours, the marketplace isn't going to teach you. It's not going to train you. That's the reality. Because companies are meant to make profit. And so what is essential is that people understand how to look at problems, how to solve problems using things like hypotheses, theorems, postulates. And that's why science is so essential. Because science, whether it's social science or hard science, asks us, how do we explain what's in front of us? How do we use our creativity to solve the unknown? And so when you're actually then putting those pieces together, understanding how engineering comes together to build solutions to address those problems that you see is essential.
Urban Board of Sterling Heights sells and
the next piece is art, because what art helps us do is really size up and design what is the impact person, what is the situation, how can we reach them through emotional cues, social cues, to visual cues. Mathematics, because we're in a capitalistic economy and everything runs on money. And so do you understand finances behind what you're solving, how to actually go about solving it, how many people you need to solve it, what's the impact, what's the measurements. And finally, technology, because technology is a way that you can actually streamline and solve problems easier and collaborate and communicate more effectively. And so what we knew is if we can teach people go through these programs, both the career skills and the STEAM skills, we think they'll be extraordinarily successful entrepreneurs, creating businesses that will give opportunities for women, for new Americans, for people in underserved areas, for returning citizens. But even if not, what we have done is said, don't look at the resume, look at these individuals' abilities. And if you tell them what your job requires, what deliverables it needs in order to fulfill that job successfully, and you don't look at their background, and you don't look at their face, and you don't look at their gender, you don't look at their race, you just say, this is what I need. We truly believe that the graduates coming out of our program, if they can get to our boot camps, will be able to master any job that is out there in the marketplace because they'll have the drive and the fortitude to work at it and master it and learn it. And so that is the vision that we set as a company at Mavin Global around talent development solutions. What we said is talent development has to happen in 3 steps. You have to increase the awareness, you have to facilitate the process, and then you have to provide the assessment. And so what we're going over today is basically the second stage of that, how we facilitate the process, how we make sure all individuals get a chance to not only learn, but demonstrate, master, and get certified in their STEAM and their career skills. And so today I'll walk through what we call the App Scouts program, why we created the App Scouts program, the drive behind it, the impact behind it, and what it can mean to a lot of underserved communities. So a little bit of the background of why we created this. So, you know, the founders at Mavin Global are technology developers and engineers themselves. And so as part of that, what we've noticed is what a lack of diversity there is when you go to places like Silicon Valley. You know, unfortunately, there is kind of a identification of a technologist, and they tend to be, you know, Caucasian males who are in leadership roles driving companies, especially the startup ones, the innovative ones, right? So what they might do is they might have some diversity because they might get some people from Asia or Southeast Asia to be their developers, but never the decision makers. And so as tech entrepreneurs, what we realized is, imagine if when you are trying to solve problems, you brought people from different backgrounds who saw the world differently, who are uniquely themselves, that is their best advantage. You know, a lot of people think, well, an African-American female has 2 strikes against her if she's going to come into the software world. But the reality is she actually has 2 points in her favor. If she learns what makes her unique and how she sees the world, if she brings that forward in the software she designs. Because there are millions of female African-American ladies out there. And the reality is that a Caucasian male cannot reach that group of people. And so in software, it's all about users. And so if you actually tap in the creation stage, in the problem-solving stage, in the STEAM stages, you actually tap into asking them to design something that would appeal to them and appeal to their friends and their peers and the people in their circle, you can actually create a lot of wealth that way. And so you can actually beat bigger opponents because it's difficult for them to massively personalize. And that's why diversity is so important. And that's why it's so crucial in information technology. Because as this digital transformation occurs, it is important, if you're really going to want to win in this game, you should tap into diversity. Because diverse minds will help you build better products, secure more users will be loyal to you. And you don't need 1 billion users. If you just get 1 million users, you can make $100 million. And so that was the concept with App Scout, is we have to get this message to every neighborhood, to every community out there. We have to say, be proud to be a refugee from Iraq. Be proud to be growing up in a city in Detroit. Be proud, even if you're a returning citizen, of those experiences you had when you had to go persevere through it. And bring all those experiences with you now and help design products and help tackle areas that would work for you and then can work for so much because you can make money. And so here I just put on the screen statistics that show how little we are tapping into people's uniqueness when designing products. When you look at these STEM fields, the ones that are making the IoT, the software, the high-tech devices, if you say African Americans, Hispanics at 6 to 7% rate, that is horrible. But more importantly, there are significant differences between how men and women approach the world. And so when you will have more men, right, just double of women, you cannot be making great products, and that has to change. And so it not only would be a benefit to companies to make better products, to ensure that they're getting more market share, especially startups who could really tap into the vibrancy of these unique talents. But look at what it do for those individuals as well. The reality is that with this digital transformation, by 2020, computer jobs are going to go up, by 22%. And they're going to make an average of about $81,000, $80,000 a year. So imagine if we can empower these individuals to say, we like the uniqueness of your background. We want you to be you. And what we're going to teach you is the basic core skills of how to develop mobile applications so you can work in this field. And your advantage is when you're designing wireframes, when you're making a mobile app, is you being you and you just targeting your group. You'll help that company make $3-4 million. And you can make $80,000, which you can bring back to your communities and your neighborhoods, creating tax revenues that reinvest into roads and schools and lifestyle businesses and can really lead to great economic development. And so to facilitate this project, what we did is create this program called App Scout. And what we've done is brought it to high schools, and we're hoping to bring it to neighborhoods and communities. And what we just conducted here on this slide deck was the first project we did in Grand Rapids. And it was focused on refugees and new Americans. And with this class, what we did is we basically brought 16 individuals, like we have in all the urban school districts that I've been traveling to and working with across the country. And what we do is we give 2 series of projects. The first project is an individual project, and it's a project that impacts all of us. It's around healthcare. And the second project we ask them to do is a group project in which I throw out an industry topic to them, and I ask them to use their uniqueness to help develop and foster a great project. Now, what I don't want people to think is that this is a super cakewalk, program, that we're here to say, hey, we have 100 people and they all graduate from it. It is a brutal program because the assignments that are given on a week-by-week basis I have strategically designed from all the years of starting businesses, working in the industry, that weed people out. You see, it's easy to say, I have leadership skills, I have training skills, I have communication skills, and it's easy to take surveys and personality tests and assessment tests. But the amazing thing is when the moment happens, when the pressure hits, that's when all the best training seems to go awry. And that's when you and your natural talent have to survive. So the best way to handle and be an ultimate leader and an ultimate communicator is not by listening to somebody lecturing you on how to do it, and it's not by actually taking a bunch of surveys and tests, but it's by being in these constant, high-pressure, simulated situations. Because in it, we see if you lose your cool or not. In it, we can instruct you on what to do different. And what happens is through the repetition of being in that environment, when you get certified and leave our program, you've experienced it. You've experienced what to do and not to do. And that's what makes you more successful when you get out into the real world, building your own companies, being entrepreneurs, being great employees, and being great next executives. And so that's what makes our program uniquely different on how we teach career skills and STEM skills than any other program out there. And so for our program here that we did in the Goei Center with New Americans, we started with 16 individuals. And we are only down, and we finished with 6. And many of the individuals that dropped out, one of the first week assignments we gave was, we want you to go out there to your community and to another community, and we want you to interview 35 people and ask them how easy is it for them to register into the healthcare system. And one of the individuals was a refugee from Cuba. And so her social service organization sent her. She was really excited. And she came back and said, I can't do the work. I don't want to do the work, right? I can't do it. And so they said, this young lady doesn't want to be in the program anymore. And I said, well, why is that? She said, well, she can't do the assignment. And I said, is it that she can't do it or she doesn't want to do it? And they said, well, it's probably that she doesn't want to do it. She felt embarrassed cold calling people she didn't know. And I said, well, you know what? I'm embarrassed every day of my life I have to ask somebody for money. I'm embarrassed every day of my life I go into a room of 100 people I don't know. But what we do know as entrepreneurs is if we don't do that, we don't get paid. And I said that is the beautiful nature of capitalism versus socialism. Because we as a society have to ask ourselves, is it something we can't do or is it something we don't want to do? And through your work career, as we teach all of our enrollees, you are going to face task assignments that are hard, that you're going to have to teach yourself, that you don't want to do because it's really time-consumptive. It's uncomfortable. But the question is, do you not want to do it or is it that you can't do it? And so the reason we designed this program is because we understand it even goes down to learning code. You can teach yourself how to code. Everybody can do it because it's all online. And so you don't need a training and a coding program to sit behind a computer. But the reality is it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. You don't learn code overnight. You don't learn it in 6-week programs. In order actually to learn how to code, you have to have those traits of working all the time, working all night, fortitude. So is it something that you really can't do or you don't want to do? And so because of that nature, we designed a program to really effectively identify and teach people what it takes so that way they can actually learn how to code. So again, as I mentioned, Ask Us is a pre-designed curriculum with structured learning exercises that will allow students to design, develop, deploy, and scale a software application idea. And we basically say anyone is eligible. Man, female, don't care about the age. We've tested on all different genders, races, ethnicities, regions, age groups. But success is simply based on merit and successfully overcoming the challenges that each phase presents. And so, again, as I mentioned, right, what are the outcomes then of our program? Well, to get through each of our assignments, what we do is, and in the first, and I'll go over the phases, the students have to demonstrate they have the career skills for success. So that means that we structurally designed our assignments that test collaboration, communication, technology, attendance, productivity, even following orders. And what we do is we ask, after the 3rd week of the program, we ask each of the students to rate themselves. What we tell them is, based on these assignments, here's how did you use communication? And we make them identify it. How did you use collaboration? And we make them identify it. How did you use technology? And then we ask them from a 1 to 5 ranking, how would you rank yourself? And we do that in an open environment with all their peers around them so we can find what their strengths are, right? This individual is a great communicator. This individual here really mastered technology. And so as we go from that first assignment where we have them do it individually to that second assignment where we have them do it collaboratively, we really hone in then on the strengths so when they do the collaboration, they're doing something they're really good at. And students coming out of the App Skills program, just the first phase alone, we call the design phase, which we'll go over in a second, they actually are already eligible. If you gave them an equal opportunity, that means you didn't discriminate against them because they had maybe a small misdemeanor or they don't look a certain way. If you don't discriminate them, if you said, here's my business analyst, my QA, my bug fixing roles as an employer, and here's what I need to accomplish. These are the outputs. And you put that out there for these individuals coming through our program, you would see that you cannot find finer individuals who could do these things and do it better because of their unique background, their diversity, and their personality. That means you as an employer would actually be accelerating your business because they would actually be creating better products in these areas than if you had a monolithic background. The next thing we do is also teach them what we call business ownership skills. So the real key that we did in this program is we tell them, you have no money. You have no material. And it's a test that we learned as a company that weeds people out. Because what we have to teach people is how to do things lean, how to survive on less. Because when you run a business, or you're an executive, or even if you're a business manager, you need $60,000 and you only get half 10 cents. And that's life. What you can't say is, well, somebody blocked me, somebody didn't give me the resources, somebody knew this, somebody knew that. What you have to figure out is, how do I persevere? How do I make it happen? So we intentionally give them situations where there is no resources. They don't have the budget. And we say, how do you use science? How do you use engineering to design and develop processes that could come to an outcome that will be successful? Not spend the time pointing the fingers, but figuring out how you can persevere by being creative, using those artistic skills and getting ahead. And so when the individuals get through our program, they have what I call those entrepreneurial, business ownership, survival skills. The next thing they're going to have to do to get through our program is apply those STEM skills, as I mentioned. They're going to have to demonstrate that science ability. They can make a hypothesis, a theorem, a postulate. They're going to have to use technology. They're going to have to engineer solutions, use mathematics to metric it, use art to design it. And then finally, the last thing we really try to teach our App Scouts is be uniquely you. Yes, there's a lot of chatter, but use that diverse background. Don't worry about trying to conform to society. Be you. Be proud of who you are. Talk about those backgrounds. Tie those backgrounds to the business owners and the products you create and say, this would speak to my folks, my friends better. And so if you are you, you'll drive money, and then capitalism and corporates will come and get you. And that's what makes capitalism great. That is why capitalism thrives. Because if we were in Cuba, in a communist or socialistic country, then you can say, it's not what I can do, but it's what I like to do. And I don't like to do anything. And we say, okay, well then we in society will take care of you. What's so good about capitalistic society is it's not what you like to do, it's what you can do. What we want to do is we want to make sure we get everybody's talent to the fullest ability, that each individual in each community knows how to leverage it so they can see what they can do, not what they can't do. And they can thrive in this economy and go forward. And so how does this program work, and what do we usually do? So it's basically a 4-phase program, as I mentioned before: design, develop, deploy, and scale. And each of the different segments have basically about 6 weeks. And so altogether, the course, will take somewhere around 6 months to a year, and you can scale it in different portions. You can do the phases down to 3 weeks, or you can expand to 6 weeks. It all varies. And so in the design phase, what we ask the individuals to do is do a couple of assignments. One is what we call a persona diagram, which is, okay, this is your problem, tell me who encounters this problem. And so we say, so go into your own background, right? So an example of this is the healthcare assignment. We gave a group of people from Iraq and Syria, Burma, Nepal, Peru, Colombia, and we said, if you go to Henry Ford Health Systems, is it easy for somebody from your community to actually get a doctor's checkup today? And so we had them go reach out to people in their community. And they actually created these persona diagrams to say, this is who I talk to. And I gave them that assignment. This is what their reaction was. It wasn't translated in Arabic. I came from Iraq, and in Iraq we can get our teeth repaired in the in the medical. And here in America, they're like, nope, that goes to a dentist, and I didn't know, so I checked into the ER. And so by tapping into that diversity, what we learned is small tweaks to the website could make a huge financial difference on our healthcare system. And why is that important? Well, because if somebody has a toothache and they walk into the ER, then that means all of our premium rates go up. Because it's not the Affordable Health Care Act that's bad. It's the fact that now everybody has coverage, but if you went accidentally, then they charge the insurance, the payer. And when they charge the payer, all of us from suburbs to all over the country are impacted. That means our deductibles are going up, our premiums are going up. And so if we just educate and communicate better, if we celebrate diversity, if they knew, oh, I have a toothache, but now I'm in America, this isn't Iraq, I need to go to a dentist, that's how we can drive down the cost of health care. And that's how they can make great investments when they're hiring 10, 15 people in IT. Because if we keep hiring monolithic instead of based on merit, where somebody who maybe applied for the job, came from Iraq, was a returning citizen, and said, people who are returning citizens don't tend to even go get checked up. Okay, well, then how do we address those folks? That is how we can prevent diabetes. That's how we can help people get proper checkups. And so that's the importance of design. And you can take it from healthcare to every industry and see the impact. And so after they design the apps, what we teach them then is how to quickly code it out. We teach them, don't think in the framework of trying to memorize a bunch of programming languages, factories, and libraries. What we teach them is the core concepts just to make that app. We say design it out first, sketch it out in wireframe. Once they establish the wireframes, we show them on the web where they can actually grab the code sets and the structures to literally piecemeal it together from a design perspective. And we show them how to put it on things like the cloud, using things like Bootstrap and Mean to quickly deploy it out, to put credit card plugins, and to really create commerce. And we tell all of our App Scouts, go out and find other projects, right? Just don't even do the App Scout projects. Take these skills you've learned now, go ask 5, 10, 15 friends and say, I can make your website. I can help you out. And say, the reason you want to get me is because I'm uniquely me. I am me. I have a different view of the world that nobody else has. Because what that does is it helps build skills. You know, when I was a little kid, my dad dropped the computer on, and I used to write apps on it, old green screen with a floppy drive, and I used to build it and break it apart. And for 12, 15 years of my life, I used to just do it all the time for free for friends. They'd be like, hey, my computer broke, and I'd fix it. And they'd go, how would I pay you? I said, don't pay me. Because what I was getting was the value of building those skills. And so I was like, no, don't pay me because I'm going to refine this. And so I became a better developer. I became a better computer engineer because of it. And so I challenge all of our App Scouts, go do other projects, right? Don't ever get paid. Just get better at this craft. Because if you get better at this craft, your brand is going up, and you will get paid. You'll get paid top dollar. Because the more and more you do it, the better you get. In the first phase, we teach them how to deploy it. So that means you send it out to the customer. And now that's out with the customer, you have to get feedback. So now you said, you know what, I made this product. I already knew 30 Iraqis. I knew 20 people from Nepal. And they've tried it, and so now I want the feedback. And so when you make the feedback now, so when you do your QA testing, you make your iterations. Because what you're trying to figure out is how do I make this successful? How do I keep driving that adoption usability? And then in the final phase, we teach them is scaling. So let's say you do have the users, and we have a revenue model. How do you now scale this? How do you create the strategic partnerships that help you create global distribution? How do you actually work with private equity firms to turn this forward to get it into Wall Street or get an IPO? And what do you do with that wealth? What we teach all of our App Scouts is it's important to pay it forward. So how do you go into your communities now and help rebuild it? How do you spread this message forward? And so those are the 4 phases of not only App Scouts, but all of our community initiative programs. Because it's funny whether you're developing mobile apps, movies, restaurants, or even a new beer, you can follow this 4-step process, and it actually works for any industry. It's almost like the hallmark of entrepreneurship. But App Scouts have to work really hard, just like all the people through our community initiative. They've never worked harder in their life. But they've engendered enthusiasm because what they know is they can actually make money on the other end. And what they're doing is building skills that employers will be amazed and have never seen before. And so what we did, as I mentioned, is we did, a couple of projects with these new Americans. It was the first class. And it was some of the patents that we here at Mavin Global own in our parent company, Scrivener Capital. And what I said is, you know what, we've got these patents, and I want to make them even better. And so I'm going to make them better by tapping into diversity. And so the first one I mentioned was the healthcare system, right? The biggest challenge every healthcare system faces, from Henry Ford to Beaumont, from Butterworth to Spectrum, Borges to Sparrow, what they all face is, how do I increase my enrollment? McLaren, ProMedica, you name it. How do I increase my enrollment? Because every time somebody new enrolls into their network, they get more money. That's simple. What is amazing is that is such a top priority. How in the heck, when they're hiring all these IT positions to develop their websites, that they're not tapping into diversity? Because they could find out if they were at Borges in Kalamazoo that they don't even have the Arab translate in Arabic. They have it spelled incorrectly and backwards. They could find out that, in the Middle East, you go to the ER for a dental visit. So if you actually want to increase your enrollment, how do you actually make it more friendly to talk to people in their community, in the languages they speak, in the cultures that they have? That's how you could do it. And the first one that does it will start getting an increased enrollment. And when you think of MU2 and MU3 and the Affordable Health Care Act, where you're becoming competitive, boy, the health system that jumps on it first, that embraces creating a merit-based system of equal opportunity, will end up winning. The second thing I asked him was about the grocery experience. The grocery experience is going to change. And we're going to be a part of driving that change. And so what I told them about was, if you go today, there are sites, if you think of the suburban community out there today, and they're 35 and 40, maybe, late 20s, and now they have kids, but they're educated, and they live in the affluent communities, and those are the people that the big box store grocery chains honestly depend on. But they've gotten so busy now with screaming kids that they just have to either order out from 3 restaurants next to them, or they have to stop at a grocery store and pick up the ingredients, Kraft macaroni and cheese. And it's boring. And so what I asked them to do is develop an app where anybody from any community in any language could actually talk about their home dishes that they cook at home, their ethnic dishes. And they could put the ingredients, and they could put the recipes, and they can say, here's the instructions to make it. They could take a picture on it, and they make a profile. They basically share it into a database. And in this database, what you'll do is basically go out and connect it to all of the grocery stores. And the grocery stores will basically say, okay, I can fulfill those ingredients. And so what will happen then is that when anyone says, you know what, I want what I'm going to eat for dinner today, they can go to this database, they can see all these amazing looking dishes and how to create them. And they can click on it, and what they can do is they can actually go then to their local Walmart or Meijer or have it shipped to them in a box that allows them to basically pour that in and cook it at their home. And so what this does is it addresses a couple of things. There's so much nervousness about immigration and immigrants and refugees. What we're doing is breaking down barriers and cultures. The reality is that I might not go into a Latino grocery store, and a Latino might not go into an Indian grocery store because it feels uncomfortable. And even if a Meijer starts increasing their sections of here's new food, well, what do I know what to do with it? And so we're going to break down those walls and become more of a global community. Here is a platform in which we can start sharing the recipes, sharing the ingredients, and making it easier for all of us to try the cultures and the flavors of other people, of other regions, of other communities right in our backyard. And that will actually become the future of grocery shopping. Because in the future, on this platform we built, voila, the reality is people aren't going to go buy ingredients anymore. What they're going to say is, this is what I want to eat for a meal. And they're going to say whether they want it instantaneous, or they're going to say if they want to try to pre-cook it themselves. And they're going to find the model that works for them. And when they cook that, they'll give credit to the person who put the recipe. They might even invite them if they're close by the home. And this is how we can use the cloud to actually break down barriers and create experiences that are really driven for the future millennials and really open their eyes and their taste to how great diversity is and what makes them uniquely themselves. And so what we had is a team from Iraq and from Peru and from Syria, from Nepal, who basically came together and interviewed people in the community. Okay, what would it take to get you to use this app? What would it take for you to deposit your home dishes? And we have people who are from suburban America, right? What would it take to have you use this instead of Blue Apron or go the traditional way? And a team of females from all of these countries, males and females who have a passion for food, came up with great ideas in unique ways, taking their own personal experience to help design and develop a better app. And let's be honest, if we had a team of 12 Silicon Valley developers who are all 27 years old and male, who unfortunately, drink a lot of caffeine, could they honestly develop an app with as rich of an experience as what a team of predominantly females and a few males from these multicultural, different backgrounds can make? I don't know. But the reality is I'll take my bet on those individuals than a monolithic group anyway. Because what I know is when they are designing and they're putting their input, they are talking to people from their community. They are doing it from a standpoint they see in the world. And slowly you can couple 30 here, 30 here, 30 here. And those 30 all feel like they've been part of the process. As opposed to a group that says, oh, we just innovated this app and we think this is the way you want it to be. The second area we looked at was the car buying experience. Now, the car buying experience is very westernized. The ride-sharing experience is very westernized. If I come from another country and I want to buy a car or even use an Uber, the reality is it's all westernized. I might be used to kilometers. Well, we're in the mile system. If I come from India because I'm a software engineer, I might be used to rupees, not dollars. But yet when I have to go get a ride-sharing or car buying, it doesn't tell me the thing that I'm used to. And so it makes it really confusing, especially if I don't comprehend or speak the language. And so how do we make an app that makes it easier for people, makes it more relatable? You think the transportation systems are the same in every country, and the reality is that they're not. And so what we've created is another app that I gave to a team from Nepal and Indonesia and India and Korea to say, how do we make an experience for transportation that makes it relatable from where people come from? It talks about the features of the transportation, the automobile. It puts the in mileage or kilometers. It puts it in currency they understand. It's just not language translation. See, it's all those other things, right? It talks about things that matter to their communities and cultures, whether they're going to have their parents along. And so how do we create a better car buying experience, better transportation experience? So again, could I be a big company and say, you know what, I'm going to go to Silicon Valley again because I'm going to tap into the same monolithic people? Or can we keep tapping into people like new Americans, people who live in underserved communities because they see the world differently? And can we bring them together with traditional people and really have a diverse team that can make a better product? And so we as a company make our own products on the same talent development philosophy that we try to share with others, which is when you tap into diversity, when you tap into what makes people so great and unique, because each person on this planet has a unique talent. In every community, in every government, every state's best asset are their people. And the amazing products you have, you don't have to serve billions of people. If you can just serve hundreds of millions, you can make millions of dollars. And that is the massively personalized digital economy we're going into. And so to win in that gig economy, that mass personalized economy, diversity is going to be more important than ever before. And so what we hope with all these community programs is we're teaching the individuals how to use that diversity to their advantage, how to have the career skills, how to have the STEM skills, and how that can make you successful. And so how do we deliver this program? Well, we deliver this program in two ways. If you want a person on site, then what we say is you need to have at least a minimum of 12 students, and we charge $5,000 per student, or $2,500 is for the training program. We say it's $2,500 is for maybe the nonprofit that does the recruiting and needs the facilities to host it. And what we say is, look, coming out of these programs, there's going to be amazing applications being developed. If I talk about the applications we're doing in schools like Detroit, where we're actually having the students, African-American females and males, working together to figure out how do we develop an app that keeps kids away from going in gangs and joining things called crews, where they can actually make pledges, and they can share those pledges with their local police force. And if they meet those pledges, they actually get rewards, compensation, things like sports tickets and celebrities. Because that's how we can actually break down the barrier between community polices and the young generation growing up. We have young people working on depression apps. How do we make people feel less excluded? Because when they feel excluded, they drop out of school. They don't become a functioning member of society. And we as a society end up paying more in taxes. And so what we do is create these challenges that can come to being $1 million of apps, right? You can sell the grocery app for $200 to each grocery store. And imagine how much you can scale that exponentially. So think of the millions of dollars you can generate. Or you could sell this police app only to each of the police departments, and it can scale exponentially. And so that's going to put millions of dollars in these young minorities' pockets. And if we taught them how to be great stewards, they're going to be great job creators and really help build their programs. So we think for a $5,000 investment, you're going to see through the revenue generation of all of our programs that these entrepreneurs make, that it will pay for it back. But more importantly, the reduction of costs from government service that has to be created. The happier citizens who will vote for the politicians who support this will lead to thriving communities, newer innovations, better services, and the strength of what capitalism is built on. And so that is our in-person offering. We have another offering, which is just digital, virtual, and online. We packaged these curriculums and programs together, and we offer for $750. So if we can't make it in person, or you're not sure I can get 12 people in the classroom at one time, then you can basically, on demand, enroll an individual in it for $750. And we think this is an amazing and powerful program that we should be giving to all of students in public education and in all communities, because it teaches them what makes them uniquely you. It teaches them those core skills. It teaches them entrepreneurship, and it just makes them more job ready. And we think if these kind of programs get delivered in schools and nonprofits, then it's going to really thrive the economy. It's going to really grow it. And we're going to give everybody an equal opportunity to succeed, and we're really facilitating the process. And so that is a little about our program. And like I said, this was just one of 4: app technology, food, and music, retail. It's just one of our 4 programs. But like I said, we're trying to use project-based talent exercises to develop communities and really lead to economic development.